Okay, in this video we're going to be looking at Windows Chicago build 56. This is one of the earliest known builds of what was to become Windows 95. So this is between Windows 3.1 and Windows 95. This build has a release date of August the 9th, 1993. Now you'll notice at the moment I'm not actually using Windows 95, this is Windows 3.1. The reason that I'm doing that is because you can only install this build from within Windows 3.1 to my knowledge. So that is what I'm going to do now. I'm not sure why I pressed Control Panel. File Manager. Now I can't actually remember how to use Windows 3.1 properly. There you go. And I assume you look for Setup. Okay. Okay. Never mind. I will upgrade. No, I'll do a new install actually. Right. So while it's doing that, I'll just skip that. I'll just give you a bit of background on Chicago. Basically, whether this was the only reason or not, Chicago's primary aim from Microsoft was basically to combat IBM's OS/2, which came out when Windows 3.1 came out. So what Microsoft were trying to do was basically make Windows 3.1 but better, because they needed something to compete with IBM's OS/2. Now OS/2 supported 32-bit applications, so Microsoft was conscious that that was something they needed to incorporate in the next version of Windows. And they also realised that they needed something that consumers could run on the hardware that they already had, so relatively low-end hardware. Now Windows NT, which by this point they'd already started developing as well, was designed for much higher spec hardware. So Microsoft knew that it wouldn't just be a case of giving consumers Windows NT, they needed an upgrade to Windows 3.1 basically. And also, Windows 95 was originally supposed to be completed by the end of 1993, so the final name was expected to be Windows 93 when they had decided to use the date as part of the name, but obviously that changed. Now I'm not sure what's going on here. I'm not sure whether setup has finished or whether this is mid-setup and something's not happening. So just bear with me a minute and I'll see what's going on. Well, apologies for that, and apologies for the really bad sound quality as well at the beginning of the video. Didn't realise that my microphone volume was so high. But here we are back in Windows Chicago build 56, and I'm hoping that when I press the close button we will get no more error messages. I've had to switch to Virtual PC 2007 to get this to load, so I'm hoping that it's going to do something a bit more than it did last time, which was Virtual PC that came with Windows 7. No. Doesn't appear to be getting any further than it did last time. Let me try putting C, Alt and delete it. Actually, I know what happens when you do that because I've done it before. Oh, it's not doing it this time. Well, that's interesting. Ah, here we go. Yeah. Well, at least I can show you this. If you press C, Alt and delete in build 56 of Windows Chicago, this is the message that you get, and it's quite humorous. It looks like you want to reboot. Select cancel to cancel and return to Windows. Select OK to shut down and reboot the system gracefully. So, there you go. I don't really know what else to do. I'll try rebooting it once more, we'll see what happens. Okay, well, to cut a fairly short story, even shorter, I couldn't get build 56 to work, so I'm going to attempt to get build 58 to work. And I will start by putting the disk into the virtual drive, so bear with me a second. Here we go, let's try 58. Now, I believe these builds are virtually identical, so there shouldn't really be any difference, or much difference, in anything about these two builds. In fact, the setup already looks identical. Now, according to the Wikipedia page, build 56 and 58 both have the same compilation date, so I find that a bit peculiar. Does that mean they are the same build, or that the two builds were just made very close together? It's interesting. I'm not quite sure. Oh yeah, one thing I forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about the Microsoft sort of reasons behind making Windows 95. Initially, they didn't actually want to make any changes to the user interface, so it would have essentially looked like Windows 3.1. And the only thing that they wanted to do really was to just make it easier for consumers to use. So they wanted to make the setup process easier and that sort of thing. But as we well know, there was quite a large user interface change with Windows 95 from 3.1. The start menu, for example. And I'd hope to show you in build 56 there was a start menu prototype which did look quite different to the start menu that was eventually in Windows 95. It actually had 3 buttons, it was 3 menus. But as I say, that didn't work. And this one's not looking too promising now either. Right, I'm going to pause the video, I'm going to try and sort this out. Okay, here we go, we've got further this time. Right, there we go. So, this is Windows Chicago, build 58. And I've just realised, further to what I said earlier about the release dates, if you look at the boot screens, the boot screen for build 56 gives the date July 1993. The boot screen for this build, build 58, gives August 1993, so that would suggest that they do actually have different release dates, which makes more sense. So, providing that you can get this far, this is what you see when you boot up. I'm not sure why that error message, that information message just disappeared, but there you go. Okay, right. Now, I've said this in at least one of my previous videos. If you are interested in installing these old pre-release versions for Windows, as far as I'm aware, it is completely illegal to do so, and it's also legal to share the serial numbers / product keys / whatever, because technically I believe, as I say, that these are abandonware, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Right, okay. I don't want to install a printer. So essentially, behind all the faff, this is what you see when you boot up build 58 of Windows Chicago. So this is Windows 95 as it looked at around about August 1993, so about 2 years before it was actually released. There is no My Computer icon, that's the first thing I noticed. Now, I have used this before, but that was a very long time ago and I can't remember much about it, to be honest, so I'm just as clueless as maybe you are at the moment. Let's try changing the background. That looks awful. Okay, it looks a lot better there. Interesting. And I think this wallpaper is in Windows 3.1, if I remember correctly. Wow, flying windows. Now can I make the resolution higher? Let's try making the colour higher first. No. Oh, this is interesting. So, aside from the actual resolution by numbers, you actually get a little slider as well. Let's see if it does anything. No, I can't change it. Never mind, let's try changing this. Super VGA. No, never mind then. And display scaling. Okay. Now these things, I'm not sure why these are here. Well, I guess this is the taskbar. Well, there isn't. There is a taskbar, but it's not the taskbar that we're used to. So these must be acting like they do in earlier versions of Windows, whereby you minimize something and you get a little button at the bottom. So, no. Can I maximize this? Here we go, restore. Okay, no. Dr. Watson. Okay, so those are obviously minimized programs, I think. Right, I just right-clicked on this. What does this mean? I've got no idea what I'm doing. Windows 95, also the first version of Windows to have right-click functionality. You can see that working here. In 3.1 there is no right-click. It's just a single click, there is no distinction. Interesting that the recycle bin is called recycle.bin. And we have a programs folder here as well. If you look at the Explorer buttons, you can see that they're still 3.1 in style, although the little symbols are slightly different. That is the traditional maximize, minimize symbols. Right, I think we may have a crash. I will just restart it and carry on from where I left off. Well, a couple of things I've discovered about these early builds of Windows 95 so far is that, number one, they're very buggy, in my experience. Number two, if I double click that programs folder there, it just crashes and I can't do anything, because I've literally spent the last 10 minutes trying to get it to boot back up again, and it seems to be completely random whether it does or not. So I'm not going to press that because it just crashes, and I'm a bit worried about pressing anything else now. So let's start with the taskbar. So you can actually move the taskbar around. You can clip it to different edges of the screen. You can also let it float if you like, and the heading there is system controls. So if you want to, you can just leave it floating around, which I find interesting. You can resize it as well. But basically, when you boot up, that is the Windows start menu and taskbar pretty much that in some form, apart from the start menu, is still there today. So let's press this button with Windows logo on first. What's in here? Right, so this is basically the seeds of the traditional start menu. Run, task list, which I'm assuming will be task manager, arrange icons, arrange windows, shut down. Start with run. So this is the run box. So I don't really know what to type in here. I don't know what programs existed at this point in Windows development. Obviously not WinVer then. Task list. So I'm assuming this is the task manager. Yeah, it looks like it is. Alright, interesting. Access to the program manager. So I assume this is the program manager from Windows 3.1, which I believe is still in this build. Clock. There we go. Oh, don't be always on top, it's annoying. Settings, what are the settings? Oh, analog. No title. Well, why not? Close. Okay, that's pretty similar to as it is today. I don't want to press shut down in case it just shuts down. I'll try it later when I'm finished. Yeah, these options still exist, I think, don't they, as well? So this one. So this looks like it's a search menu. Find files. Okay. You type in nothing, you get nothing back. There are no files in this build, obviously. That, I guess, is the recent programs menu. these, I'm not sure whether they might be there because they're open or whether it's some sort of pinning function, which would be interesting if it was, but I don't really know. What was that? I got a menu then. Oh right, close. Right, if you click on the icon you get a menu. Yeah, so they were there because they were open. So that was showing you what was minimized at the bottom. So that was your taskbar. And I'm still not quite sure what this part is for, this big white box. It looks like you can type something in it, but obviously you can't. Arrange icons. I'm determined to work out how that works. Maybe if I open something. It's funny, I said maybe if I open something, click on the start menu, expecting there to be just the start menu, and it's not there, and yeah. Okay, and I can't press that because it'll crash. Let's do it from in the task manager. Alright, calculator. So why is it minimizing there? Well, that's a nice animation anyway. Close. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it... Maybe it's just not being used at the moment. Right, so this looks like a help button. Yeah, here we go. So help. Basic sort of help. Not much to say about it. Click the button. Does it have a name? Who knows? Quick tips? There are no quick tips. You're on your own. About Chicago. Alright, here we go. So, Microsoft Windows version 4. 4.00.58s. Let's try clicking recycle bin. Nope, that's a crash again. Right, I've booted back in now. And this box is still here, so you can actually have a read of it this time. So when you first start up Chicago in this build, this is the box that you get, saying under construction. Please remember that the user interface, applets, whatever they are, and system software will continue to change through the products, whatever it said. So right, I've established that I can't really get into any Explorer windows because it just crashes. So I'll try and show you some other things. So this is a properties dialog box, for example, pretty similar to what they look like these days. I realised earlier, what happens if I press that? You can make a folder in there, and why did I just double click it? It's just ridiculous. Right, I'm going to restart again. But anyway, we established that you can make folders in that taskbar thing, whatever it is, for whatever reason, I'm not sure. By the way, if you've installed this build of Chicago in a virtual machine, let me know if you've had the same sort of problems with it as I have, because I'm having really major issues with the bugginess. Now I've just gone back into here to see whether there was a way to change the colour of the windows, but there doesn't appear to be. Now in Windows 3.1 you can change the colour of the windows. By that I mean the theme. Like you could change this grey to a different colour if you wanted to, but there doesn't appear to be one in this. So let's have a look at some of these. Well, that is awful. Mind you, they're all pretty bad, all these early wallpapers. I mean, look at that. A castle, just a wall. Oh, look at this, Chicago. Let's have a look at that. Lovely. Very nice. Let's try the clock. You can't right click on the clock. Double clicking doesn't appear to do anything. So basically I think that's about it really. So this is Chicago build 58, and I will try one more thing before I go. I'm going to try putting .exe on the end of that. No, never mind. So anyway, this is one of the earlier builds. It's not the earliest. The earliest build that's leaked is build 56, but again I don't know whether that is the earliest build that was made. But there we go. In my next video I'll be looking at build 73 hopefully, and that has a build date of 2nd of December 1993, so that's what, about 4 months after this one. Okay, so hopefully we'll see what progress has been made by that point. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video to some degree, despite all the problems, despite the audio issues, etc. And hopefully the next video will go a lot more smoothly. So I'll see you then. Help? Why would you want help? It doesn't work anyway.